Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you you are seeing one of the craziest games in Connecticut football history, you are witnessing it. The score, Conard, you heard me right, 73. In East Hartford, you heard me right, 66. 6:06 left in the fourth quarter. Touchdown! Hold it! Isaiah Tripp with a score! Touchdown! Touchdown, Conard! Ladies and gentlemen, that touchdown has just set the combined scoring record in Connecticut high school history. This game is digital, people! This game is digital! What is going on? What is going on? 2-point conversion is good! Bananas, people! Bananas! Tell everybody you know you should have been here at one of the greatest games in high school history in the United States! Conard wins the ball game 80-74 in one of the greatest high school games in Connecticut history. Dare I say, the greatest high school game in Connecticut history. So give a round of applause to these young men for putting their bodies on the line, for giving you what a wonderful experience to have Saturday afternoon.
Hello, everybody. Hey. And welcome to the Meat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut, or was it courtside with Joe Morelli and Scott Harris? They played a football game up at East Hartford, and a basketball game broke out. An unbelievable show of offense, over 1,100 yards total offense. Yeah, state records falling, the all-time the all-time highest scoring game in Connecticut state history. We weren't there. And you tell everybody you should have been here. We're busy down in Fairfield County, and our games, Pete, and we called it Super Saturday. We made a whole stink of it. The FCIAC's where it's at. But this game up in East Hartford just blew the lid off everything. In fact, a lot of games up in Hartford Way.
I'm going to be honest. I'm glad we weren't there. Like, for the people at home who are like, you should have been there, have you ever tried to write a box score when there's like a lot of scoring? It's really hard. Have you ever tried to put together a highlight tape where there's 18 touchdowns or whatever it was? Like, yeah, it would have been amazing. It would have been it would have been the most exhausting Saturday of all time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
look. What a wild. Look, I don't know who that PA guy was at East Hartford.
Yeah, neither do I.
I believe I met him years ago when East Hartford was pretty good with like Raquan Tompkins and Jaquan Allen. I went to a game there a couple of times. I think I met him. Super nice guy. Whoever you are, dude, if anyone knows this guy's name, please tell us, because not that we have shirts to give out, but if we had a shirt to give out, I'd give it to you, because you, my friend, to have that energy at the end of a game where there were 154 points scored. And if you look at the box score, like, it was just chaos. So, like, hats off to you, my friend, whatever your name is. Someone tell us his name. Credit to you for the energy. You were bananas, my friend.
Yeah. He met the moment.
Yeah.
We could have had just a silent reel of touchdowns being scored. And I'm like, we weren't there. Usually we have all the very good highlights and all that stuff. And we weren't there. And I'm like, what's this NFHS network stream? Shout out for them having the footage there. But I was like, what this is going to look like. And I had to watch it this morning. And I sat there and like, this guy is meeting the moment. He is providing the play-by-play in the only way you can in a situation like that. He is, not only did he have all the records and everything, but he just brought the exuberance and he brought the moment. And just that at the end there where he was just like, it is bananas. Bananas. Now, I'll quibble with all-time greatest high school football game in history. I'll quibble with that. I mean, like, basketball maybe, but but it just I mean, no defense. Usually line a little defense in my great games, but as far as like high octane excitement, great,
I don't think it is one of the like all-time games, I will say.
Yeah, it's
for
up there.
The reason of all the points, and it's not like they got blown out. It was was it 80? It was a 6-point game. I mean, but I will counter, the 2019 class double L championship might be the best game that I've ever been to. The 2023 class double L championship, Staples West Haven down to the 2-point conversion, might be one of the best games I've ever been to. But I honestly would have wanted to go home if I was there. Selfishly, I would have been like, okay, I'm done. I have enough.
you would have, if you looked at your move or Fitbit or whatever, you would have seen you ran 10 miles.
Oh,
I was making that joke weeks ago. I don't got nothing on this game.
Yeah.
If I was at the game in the heat, it would have been nuts. We're gonna go try and go blow by blow and give it to you because it's worth looking at. But before we begin, I'm Sean Patrick Bull, your host. With me as always, Pete Paguaga. Welcome to the Meat Grinder and GametimeCT.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to jump in because I got the live Instagram feed up on my computer. We got a lot of new people watching the show. Hopefully you guys have watched the show before, but we're on Instagram Live now. We're also on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. Yeah. So we got a nice little audience. Hopefully maybe some new people watching. I think that's really exciting. I have it up. I'm watching everyone join and leave and comment and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Big time. All right. So before we begin, please like and subscribe to the GametimeCT YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, where we have all the videos on as many games as we can get to, which admittedly isn't nearly covers it, but we get all the big games we can get to throughout the season. And of course, go to GametimeCT.com on CTinsider.com for all the stories, weekly poll, the weekly top 10 poll, and all that stuff. Everything you need to know about high school sports, football in Connecticut for now. That you can get. So please do that. And Pete, I guess we're just going to have to start and just kind of run this down because it was an absolutely nutty game. Shout out to Danny, our producer, with trying to get this reel together. Now I'm going to be reading off the box score as we do this. So you're going to have to bear with me a bit, but I did watch the game this morning. And I fast forwarded through all of it. But there wasn't much to fast forward through because everything was just absolutely nuts. But I'm going to read this as we go. So Danny, why don't you cue up those highlights? Here it is. East Hartford. Oh, wait, hold on a second. 1 second. Okay, let's give me a chance here to get it together. You jumped right to the touchdown. So East Hartford and Conard, we have obviously Conard, they were 1-2. East Hartford were 1-2. They need to get to 500 to win this game. So let's start off with the game. At the very beginning, East Hartford took a 13-0 lead, beginning with a Bryce Grant 4-yard touchdown pass from Anthony Cavall. Then Anthony Cavall, look at this play by Amin Dijbo. I can't even say his name right. It's 37 yards where he falls on the player and then goes into the end zone. Conard comes right back. Brady Suzosmo, the coach's son, 56-yard touchdown run. That got it within 13-7. Then Ian Caldwell took a 61-yard pass from Suzosmo to get it to 14-13. Conard takes its first lead. Then let's see, what was this? This was Grant 14 pass from Cavall. I think we missed one. But Grant 14 pass from Fagall, that put East Hartford within 22-19. Then on this play in the second quarter, Isaiah Tripp 44-yard pass. Well, I think we missed that one. Dan, I think you missed a few of them here. But that was Suzosmo 50 run. This is a Suzosmo 50 run. Yeah, so that got it to within 20. So they're up now 29-25. Curtis Barber returned the ensuing kickoff 67 yards for a touchdown. Wait, this is a pass. Where is that? This is the interception return. This is way into the third quarter. I think we missed a bunch of them here. But that made it 52-32 Conard. They're up 20. But East Hartford just wouldn't go away. Yet they had a 31-yard touchdown pass from Cavallo. I don't even know what's going on the screen right now, but here comes, I believe this is Morris with a 61-yard touchdown run, which made it 67-52. Isaiah Tripp caught a 25-yard touchdown pass. What play is this one I'm watching now? And this is Isaiah Tripp, who had 4 touchdowns, catching a 25-yard touchdown pass from Cavallo, 67-58. Conard's up, but then right back to Osmo, 39-yard touchdown run. This is in the fourth quarter now. You can't even see this play because the automation can't even keep up. But that is, believe that is trips 64-yard touchdown pass from Cavallo. Then Nakayara goes in for Conard to complete their scoring. On the ensuing kickoff, Dijbo, who started the game, or who had the second touchdown of the game, returns the kickoff for a touchdown to get them within 6 with 1:55 remaining. They recovered the onside kick and ran off the clock. But, yeah, we didn't have all the touchdowns there as I had hoped, but close enough. It was just a crazy game. And we'll put up the box score here from the game. Dan, why don't you show that? Here, we're just going to run it all down. Look, I had to change the box score template a little bit here, but you can see there was 22-13 after first quarter, then 16-13. I think things are calming down. Nope, 22-20 in the third quarter, and then 22-20 in the fourth, just reversed. And so just unbelievable, 154 points, which was the most combined in CT history. Brady Osmo set some of the school records, became one of the highest rushing quarterbacks in school history, but he had 11 carries for 215 yards. They couldn't stop him. 5 touchdowns for the quarterback. Holden Smith also had 14 carries, 126 yards, a touchdown. Osmo threw for 184 yards from 2 TDs, but he barely had to do that. On the East Hartford side, Anthony Carvalho had a game of games. He completed 16 passes for 368 yards and 9 touchdowns. I don't know about the yardage there. We're still kind of parsing through the stats on this. There's lots of different versions of it, but right now it looks like he has 300 yards. Let me just quickly see. Let's see if I have it pulled up here. No, I don't have it pulled up, do I? But anyway, so he had not the key point is with Carvalho, who replaced Draven Roberts from last year. Remember, he was in that just a scoring machine. He replaced 9 touchdowns, which has only been done twice before in Connecticut State's hit streak by Jason Manson of Bloomfield, and then by who was the kid from New Canaan?
Michael Collins.
Michael Collins did it in that game, in a game that maybe he really shouldn't have done it. But in this game, Carvalho needed every single one of these. And then Isaiah tripped 5 catches for 200 yards, which is ridiculous. But there was another player who had a better day than that, if you can believe it. But 5 catches, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. And there's all the scoring. Take a screenshot to take a look at it. There were actually punts in this game. There were only 2 kickoff return touchdowns and only 1 turnover return for a score. Everything else was all offense. 1,100 yards plus total, almost 1,200 in one of the craziest games. I mean, I remember that game in the one that surpassed it. Danny, put up the all-time list.
It was Sacred Heart Academy, Sacred Heart, Waterbury, and was it WCA? I believe was the that game. That was
it was Waterbury Career versus Sacred Heart Canaan Tech. Do you have that footage? Yeah.
Well, we're getting it. We got a comment. Sean Bowden is the announcer at East Hartford.
Sean Bowden is the East Hartford. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So shout out to Sean Bowden. Just an amazing job.
What a great time
on that. But yeah, I mean, we can look at the. I'll have to take a quick look. But yeah, the game 10 years. It was 9 years ago. Waterbury Career Academy defeated Sacred Heart Academy in what was then the highest scoring game of all time. And now that is just shattered by 12 points.
Yeah, that's great. That's incredible.
Unbelievable job there.
They stole all of the excitement from Fairfield County on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, completely. Like, we were all kind of doing our games. My game, we'll get to that. Staples, Darien, and your game were not as expected, but obviously that game kind of blew the lid off our Super Saturday. If you really want to,
they added to Super Saturday.
Yeah, no, they added. They took it over. They just completely took it over. I'm amazed, absolutely amazed by that. But hey, shout out to those guys. I mean, look, I'd rather have a little defense in my great games. My all-time great game, just you mentioned yours, obviously Newtown, the one you were at, winning the state championship in 19. That was amazing. But the one of my all-time favorite, or one of them at least, was the FCIAC championship game in 2009, Central versus Staples, which was won by Staples 14-9, I believe, in just one of the hardest hitting games I had ever seen. Yeah, interesting. So anyway, we don't have the graphic. I don't know where I put it, but there you go. Those are the highest games in state history, and I don't know when this one's going to ever be. I mean, what do you got to do to have this, to surpass this?
Maybe only 9 guys on the field on defense.
Yeah, we played 9-man football.
Yeah.
But, I was going to make a joke and say, like, East Hartford's basketball team, I have trouble keeping up. But I'm like, no, wait a minute. Don't they score like 100 points a game? East Hartford's basketball team.
Maybe.
Just absolutely crazy. But, so, like I said, very just a fascinating game. And, I mean, I don't know. But Conard, all it counts is one win. So Conard goes 2-2, East Hartford down to 1-3. But going back down to Fairfield County land, we had our games, Pete. We obviously big time rankings, showdown of 3-0 teams who can go to 4-0. Yeah. And I mean, the big one, obviously, New Canaan, number 1 ranked team, going to number 8, St. Joseph. And well, let's just check that out.
144 less points scored.
Yeah.
This game lived up to the billing of 2 top 10 teams in the GametimeCT top 10 poll. The defenses were stout, limiting both teams' offenses from getting anything going. But in the end, one of the state's best players made the difference. With time winding down in the first half and St. Joseph moving the ball into New Canaan territory, it was the Rams' Andrew Esposito who stepped up, reading this H.T. Jones throw perfectly, taking it 62 yards to the house with 3 seconds left in the half. Both defenses showed out in the second half, and outside of a Jake Rios 38-yard field goal in the third quarter, both teams didn't score a single point. New Canaan's defense made one last stop on St. Joseph's last-ditch effort to secure the 7-3 win. New Canaan improves to 4-0, while St. Joseph drops to 2-2, with both of their losses coming by a combined 6 points. Despite being limited offensively, which he took full blame for, Esposito played hero on a play he credited his coaches for knowing would be coming.
Again, Coach Sylvester, just put me in the right place at the right time. He knew he was going to run it out route. It was up to me to go and jump it, and that's what I did.
For Coach Lou Marinelli, he said it's never easy coming to St. Joseph and playing a Joe Delavecchia team. But he had fun.
Honestly, I'd rather play this schedule than, to go play some of the lesser teams where you're up by 40 at the halftime. This is more. How fun was that? Wasn't it fun?
Yeah, was it?
I mean, it was a little too hot for me. No, it was a great game. The defenses were lights out, like I said in the package, like just a lights out defensive performance by both teams. Look, I think we've come to expect that with New Canaan and their defense. We talked about Michael Collins a little while ago throwing 9 touchdowns in a game. New Canaan, and for a lot of kids in high school, they might not remember the New Canaan teams that were putting up 40, 50 points a game. I mean, just offensive juggernauts. And then in the last, 8, 9, 10 years, it's been defense for New Canaan. So that wasn't really a surprise. But St. Joe's up front went punch for punch with them. New Canaan's got a gigantic offensive line, huge, massive offensive line. So they've said it's the biggest offensive line that they've had in a very long time. And St. Joe's went with them every single step of the way. It was super impressive by St. Joe's. I know we're going to talk about St. Joe's in a little bit, but just a super impressive performance. Did they win? No. Do we like moral victories? No. Their schedule gets a lot harder, but which we're going to talk about. But it was really impressive by St. Joe's because, look, I'll be honest with you, none of us thought that St. Joe's had a shot in that game, and
I don't know about that.
They were. All 13 of us, including the 8 ball.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know about a shot, though. That doesn't mean we didn't think they had a shot.
No, but I think I coming off a loss to Hand, who's a Class SS school, going up against New Canaan and L school, the 3-time state defending champion who hasn't lost in over a year.
They had a few points, and St. Joe always plays
yeah, they always do. But I'm just saying, it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought it would be.
Yeah, 7-3. That's not what I expect. I'll tell you that much. But how about like you said, Esposito? Jeez, you want
big time guys.
Very big case, a very very early case for Player of the Year. Like he's the front runner and he's the leader by a mile on the first turn. So you guys got a lot to do to catch up to him. But so that was your game. St. Joseph's schedule. It does not get easier. Pull that up, Danny. If you could, there it is. The Hogs. They got to go. Look at this. at Ridgefield, which is 3-1 all of a sudden and looking pretty dangerous if you really want to be honest. Granted, New Canaan beat them up a few weeks ago, but Ridgefield beat Norwalk pretty handily. We'll get to them later. Then they go into the bye week. Then they get Darien at home, then at Staples, then Ludlowe, and then at Wilton. All the other teams we're going to talk about soon, the top teams in the FCIAC. The only team they don't have here is Greenwich, right? And then they go by, then they go Trumbull, which that game's a toss-up on Thanksgiving, 11 a.m. You never know what happens in the Rumble and Trumbull, as you know, Pete. But that is a tough schedule. And, you know, one of those things, well, not the FCIAC.
That's the new competitive FCIAC schedule that they started this season. Right. Gone are the years where they only get one or two, depending on how it shook out. They're going to play each other almost every year now, at least almost everyone. They're missing Greenwich. Greenwich is missing St. Joe's. New Canaan's missing one of the top powers. So this is what we should come to expect if the FCIAC continues to do this schedule. I like it personally, but I'm not a coach.
Well, I wouldn't mind it if like they were all playing for the same playoff spot, or like they were all playing like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I get what you're saying.
The same playoff spot. That would be fine because now the destiny's in your hands. You know, winner goes or something like that. But in this case, they're in Class M. I know people don't cry for St. Joe. All right, I totally get it. Right? Oh, they got this kid. They got all these recruit. Blah blah blah. Whatever you want to say. But you know, they're a Catholic school. But you know, that's still. I mean, to get in, they're still going to be better than any. If they let's say they lose enough of those games to get out, they're still the best team in that class. By a mile. So that's why I can't stand about it. Again, this is the schedules just don't match up with how we do the playoffs. And this is a broken record. Anyway, so that was your game there. Meanwhile, down at Darien, I was rubbing my hands together and itching to get this one started. Number 6 Staples going to the number 5 Blue Wave, both 3-0 teams. What happened?
Saturday in Darien, a big FCIAC matchup between undefeated teams. Number 6 Staples, though, felt kind of disrespected by being ranked a spot behind the 3-0 5th-ranked Blue Wave, and they really wanted to show it after the previous week's thriller over West Haven. Staples looking to get another signature win under fiery 28-year-old first-year coach Matty Jackalev. And the defense showed up early. Ben Barger with a pickoff on the deflected pass. Staples gets within striking distance, but Darien's Ryan Gately has the big sack, and the Wave hold the records to just a Mickey Ross field goal. But that's as good as it would get for the Wave, which only managed 50 yards in the first half. And Staples quarterback Nick Weil is a savvy veteran. Next possession, he hit Charlie Clark to get the records within striking distance, and then finds a wide-open Jake McGeehan for the easy score, 10-0. Next possession, Weil goes over the top again to Justin Halkey, who is wide open for a 54-yard score. Does a little pose in the end zone for the GametimeCT cameras. Records in business, up 17-0. Weil looking for more with seconds to go in the first half, but this time he's picked off by Darien's Michael O'Rourke to keep the score 17-0 at the break. No matter, Weil goes back to work in the second half and finds sophomore Connor Petrosino, who is wide open down the seam. And on 4th down, Weil does the honors himself. Staples rolling 24-0. Coach Matty J loves to see it. Darien has its best play of the game on the ensuing kickoff when Dylan Robin takes it all the way back to the 10. And just a few plays later, Darien averts the shutout on a short Liam Portel run. But this one was all records. Jazz Darby with a nice run into Darien territory. Petrosino with a nice big first down catch. And as the dogs were barking on the sidelines, Weil takes it in for the touchdown, and that was that. Wreckers win 31-6, a big result for Staples and first-year head coach Matty Jackalev. It was the first Wreckers win over Darien in 6 meetings going back to 2012, when the head coach was just a sophomore playing on Staples. Defense was great, only allowing 151 yards, 50 in the first half, and the lone TD was set up by a kick return. Record's looking pretty as they take on unbeaten Wilton in another big FCIAC game this weekend. There's no rest for the weary. Darien, meanwhile, loses its first game looking to turn things around versus Bridgeport Central next week. Then they get a nice deserved bye, and then they face St. Joseph.
We haven't won against them. It's been 13 years since we won against them, and they're ranked above us in the polls. We're looking at that a little bit, pretty pissed off. I know a bunch of the team was mad about that, but coming in here and just shocking the whole state, knowing that we could get this done. We knew all week we were going to get it done, and we just had to show everyone else as well. We knew we were going to come into this game. We had a great game plan. Coach Matty drove a great game plan. We knew their safeties like to come down on play action on the run. They're really heavy on the run, so we ended up doing a bunch of play action, throwing it over the top, over the safeties for some touchdowns. So that was pretty nice as well. Yeah, I mean, we were just getting a lot more motivation as the points kept going on the board, and our defense was getting amazing stops, like a bunch of third down, bunch of fourth down stops that we needed, and the offense had to reciprocate that and bring back out on offense.
Really, I'm just thinking about our program and our team. For Staples football to beat Darien for the first time in 13 years. I was a sophomore in high school the last time we did it. I was standing on the sideline watching our guys. And then for our team, they were a team that was doubted, that went through a lot of adversity in the offseason, that had uncertainty at times, and that rallied around each other. We had a number of guys who came out to play football for the first time and push themselves in practice and in our weight room. And, I get chills now actually thinking about the impact that they made in such a big game for our program and for our team. So I'm just so proud and happy for Staples football.
Yeah, the transition's been super easy. I mean, Coach Matty, he's a great coach. He's been around Staples for almost his whole life now. Lives in Westport, went to Staples, I think it was a really easy adjustment for the kids to really adjust to him as a coach. And then with Coach Barron's leaving, it was sad for all of us, especially for me. He's quarterback coach. But Coach Matty's just been bringing so much energy to the practice, to the games. I mean, you saw him on the sideline today. He was going crazy after plays. That's what we needed in this program, and we got it done today because of him. Yeah, I mean, we got a young coach. He's 28 years old, so he's going to bring that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. He does bring that energy. He is a wild man on the sideline. Just dive. He's like one of the boys, high-fiving everybody, firing them up. If you're not fired up playing for Matty Jacklin, man, look at him. He'll find a way to fire you up, man, because he's up and down the field. He's crazy, really. But that team, great job by him starting a 4-0. You can't really ask much more. The defense, Pete, and they lost Davis Crandall last year. They lost some dudes, but looks really good right now. I mean, I don't know if you saw Staples yet. No, you haven't.
No, I'm going to see him on Friday.
I mean, Nick Wild
Breaking
looks
news.
looks pretty good. He's got the receivers going. I mean, Clark and Halke, and they look like a team. I mean, listen, they outlasted West Haven. That's pretty good. So they get their rankings. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and this is why we do the poll, and this is why the poll changes every week, and this is why 22 different people across the state vote in the poll. It's a lot of different opinions. I saw Staples a couple of times last year, but I really remember the New Canaan game against Staples, and Nick Wild got beat up in that game.
Yeah,
but he kept getting up. He kept trying to make plays, and I mean that kid is a tough kid. So it's nice to see them winning. I do have one question about Darien. This is nothing against them or the way that they played. The quarterback wears number 32.
37. 32.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's not a quarterback number.
Wow.
And he's played very well.
He was 22.
Yeah, in college.
Oh, you don't remember.
I don't remember.
College, high school.
But I'm just saying, number 32. And
can't do that in the NFL.
A weird quarterback number. I hope, I'm sure that there's a reason, and I don't want to, play, I don't want to poo-poo the number. It was just really weird to see 32. I thought maybe it was Wildcat or something. And then I looked at the roster. I'm like, no, that's Jay. He's been playing really well. He is their quarterback. So that was just kind of weird to see.
Real quick on Darien students. I know I ripped New Canaan last week. I don't have the footage here, but Darien out. Maybe it was because they got ripped 31-6, but they actually ducked out or spread out at least early. They had the whole student section nice and tight where they usually are at Darien, but by the second quarter, man, they were dispersed. It's like the cops came in. All right, broke up a party or something. But I'm watching you, Darien, too. I'm not going to just rip on New Canaan. But, watching you, Darien, what's going on down there in Fairfield County? Fans, let's go.
To be fair, it was beautiful on Saturday. So,
yeah, maybe the last fall season, they got to go pumpkin picking with mom or apple picking, whatever. All right, but they were there. They had all their Hawaiian shirts on. They got out of there real quick. I mean, granted, look, Darien's got some ways to go there. They'll be back though, but definitely, certainly something to learn there from that game. They got St. Joe in a few weeks. So, all right. And then the other big Super Saturday game we were covering, Will Alden was there. I stopped by my way back. We'll do a real quick Wilton Ludlowe. Wilton defeats the Falcons in this battle of 3-0 teams. Homecoming crowd at Fujitani Field at Memorial Stadium, just up the road in Wilton. Warriors looking to go 4-0 against a surprisingly good Ludlowe squad looking to do the same. First half, Ludlowe took a 16-14 lead on a pair of Liam Bond touchdowns and a Maiko Morano field goal to counter a pair of Wilton scores. But in the second, Dennis Dustin, coming off a huge night against Cheshire, turns it up. He scores on a 14-yard run to give Wilton the lead for good, and then ups the ante on a 30-yard screen pass touchdown from Charlie Calabrese. But Wilton couldn't put Ludlowe away, squandering at least 2 chances inside the red zone. Liam Bond scored his 3rd touchdown of the game on a short run to get the Falcons within 28-23 with about 8 minutes left, but Wilton's defense held from there, stopping Ludlowe on downs with minutes remaining and tacking on a late Dustin touchdown to really put it away. Warriors moved to 4-0, looking good as they prep for another showdown, this time versus Staples, before a well-deserved bye week. And here is Dennis Dustin and E.J. D'Annunzio.
We went into the locker room and our coaches kind of gave it to us. They were screaming. But we knew with the team we were, we knew that we were making a lot of mistakes in the first half. So we just had to come out in the second half and execute, and that's exactly what we did.
How tough is a game like this when you know you got an opponent that's kind of equal to you guys?
Oh, it's the toughest thing in the world, and it's the greatest thing in the world. You're prepared and practice all week, and the showdowns here today, because, man, that was awesome.
How much does it help you when Charlie's able to run, too, the opposite way, so the play fakes really seem to work there?
Man, he is something. That's a scary duo in the backfield, and a lot more to come with those two.
4-0 Wilton, how do you think that sounds?
Sounds amazing. Shout out to my offensive linemen. They're the best out there, and this is awesome.
We were definitely winded. We sucked it up. We finished the game fairly strong. Listen, Wilton High School 4-0. There's, everything's good in the world right now.
We didn't get a D'Annunzio dance. We didn't get a D'Annunzio dance.
Oh, yeah, that's old hat now. Yeah, now it's his old hat. 4-0, second time in 3 years. So they win. They're going to go to Staples now. No rest for the weary, like I said before. So that's those are the big Super Saturday games, obviously eclipsed by the Conard game. How about the GametimeCT top 10 poll? But before we get to that, Danny, you finally have that graphic up. It was my fault, of course. There it is. The one we had of all-time greatest scoring games in CIAC history. There it is. Conard 80, East Hartford 74, eclipsing the other one by 12 points. Waterbury Career, Sacred Heart, Cantor Tech. I remember listening to that game on the radio. WATR. That was 9 years ago. St. Joe Ledger. I remember that game from the playoffs. I think that was a play. Yeah, it was a playoff game, December 3rd. That was the semis or quarterfinals, actually. 132 Torrington and Crosby the year later. And then way back in 1902, imagine how long that thing stood. 130 points, NFA and New London in their big rivalry. NFA did all score you that one, right?
Could you imagine?
130 to zip. 130 to zip.
Could you imagine in this day and age a team getting shut out 130 to nothing? Not that long ago, there was a rule in the state: if you beat a team by more than 50, your coach could be suspended.
Yeah.
Was this coach suspended for 3 games?
Yeah. Newt Rockney called the forward pass. So that was back in 2002 before the forward pass was legal. I don't know.
1902,
right.
Not 2002 for some of you who were like 02.
02. It's as much as you want to believe I was not alive. All right. So let's go to birthday's coming up. All right. Let's go to the GametimeCT top. See what all this stuff happened and what happened. Here's the GametimeCT top 10 poll brought to you by Pete Paguaga. Pete.
We are almost at the midway point of the high school football season, and things are starting to get fun. And there was a shuffle in this week's GametimeCT Top 10 poll as we head into Week 5. Starting at number 10 is Bonet. The Bulldogs got back in the win column with a commanding 50-0 win over Weston. After a tough schedule to start the season, the Bulldogs are 3-1. Coming in at number 9 is Darien. The Blue Wave dropped down 4 spots after losing to Staples 31-6. Blue Wave have Bridgeport Central on Saturday. And then the schedule picks up with games against St. Joe's, Greenwich, and New Canaan in the second half of the season. Staying at number 8 is St. Joseph. The Hogs lost their second game of the season last week, 7-3 to New Canaan. The Hogs are 2-2 through the first 4 weeks, but remain in the top 10. Both of their losses have come to teams who were in the top 4 of this poll, and both losses have come by a combined 6 points. St. Joseph plays Richfield on Friday. At number 7 is Fairfield Prep. The Jesuits got going a little later than they would have wanted against Shelton, but were able to leave the game victorious 26-14. Prep is 3-1 and will play their former Thanksgiving rivals West Haven on Friday. At number 6 is Windsor. The Warriors stay winning, taking down Bristol Central 42-0 to improve to 4-0. The Warriors play Enfield on Friday. At the midway point at number 5 is Staples. The Wreckers move up 1 spot after their convincing 31-6 win over Darien, the program's first win over the Blue Wave in 13 years. A date with unbeaten Wilton highlights the Friday night schedule. Coming in at number 4 is Hand. The Tigers' defense continued to dominate with a 32-7 win over Hamden. The Tigers haven't allowed more than a touchdown in their last 3 games and will play Cheshire on Friday. At number 3 is Killingly. The Trailblazers made easy work of New London in a 62-6 win. Killingly is on a bye this week before another big out-of-conference test against Massac on October 17th. At number 2 is Greenwich. The Cardinals put up 63 points in their win over West Hill and have a date with Trumbull on Saturday to wrap up the first half of the season. Greenwich then has dates with New Canaan, Wilton, Darien, and Staples to finish out the year. And the number 1 team in the latest GametimeCT Top 10 poll is still New Canaan. The Rams offense struggled to get going against St. Joseph, but the defense played great, and one of the state's best players came through when his team needed him the most, returning an interception for a touchdown for the game's only touchdown. New Canaan travels to Danbury on Friday.
Pete was all over me today talking about how just happy he was that St. Joseph had stayed in the poll despite losing 2 games. Pete was emailing the voters just to let them know, he offer his 2 cents to let the voters know, hey, don't sell these guys short. They lost a hand by just a couple points, and they only lost Buchanan. And actually, the game, they scored all the points, St. Joe. I mean, you want to help them out a little bit? I don't know. But anyway, so I mean, Pete's all about it right now. I saw St. Joe. I think they're great.
In the history of being a part of this poll, and obviously, being a Game Time where we run the poll, you see some things over the years that make you scratch your head. How is this team falling out? Is this voter not taking into consideration X, Y, and Z? Everyone votes differently, and I am not telling people how to vote by any stretch of the imagination. But when the football coaches in the state of Connecticut decided to allow the Alliance to do the majority of their scheduling, what happens is the playoff classes in your playoff divisions, you get points for playing those games. So you're putting weight on those games, more weight playing in an Alliance game. You can get more points. You're playing a more competitive schedule. You're trying to balance that out where you get St. Joe's gets Hand while Darien got Naugatuck, right? A Naugatuck team that graduated a lot, right? So is that fair? Some would say no. Some would say yes, depending on the class. But the point remains is just because you're playing a tougher schedule and you lose 2 of those games doesn't mean that you're worse than a team that went 4-0 and played no one. So if the state is going to tell us this is how we're weighing the playoff classes, and if you play these out-of-conference games and you play these tougher games in the regular season, we're going to give you more points. As a voter who's always taken strength of schedule into consideration, I remember a couple of years ago when we were trying to pick between Greenwich and New Canaan for who would be number 1. I think that was in 2022. I broke down their schedules, their point differentials, how many teams made the playoffs. And it's like, for me, that's important. So I would have felt bad, or it would have, look, I still voted St. Joe's where I voted them. They were in my top 10 last week. They're in my top 10 this week. They should have remained in the top 10. And I'm really happy that the voters got it right, because I was concerned that they were going to fall out. For a team that might be 3-0 or 3-1 or 4-0 that hasn't played a tough schedule at all. Every team that's 3-1 or 4-0 wants to be ranked in the poll, but none of them want to look in the mirror and say, well, we really haven't played anybody.
Right.
So I think it was a good thing that St. Joe's got to stay.
Yeah, that's fine. Speaking of which, where's West Haven?
I know.
West Haven loses to Staples on a late field goal. They're right in that game. Darien ranked ahead of West Haven, right? And no love for West Haven all of a sudden. Guys, where's the West Haven love? I had them pretty high this week. I mean, they ripped through Xavier. West Haven's got to get a little love here. Now, the other teams, look, you got to start playing some teams. Middletown had a big win over Newington. That was big. So we'll get to them in a second. But
Middletown needs to pump their brakes. Everyone was saying we called them pretenders last week. I went back and rewatched last week's show when we did that, and I'm pretty confident because it was them and Newington. They're both 3-0, and we said something along the lines of, we got to see who's going to win this game. So we didn't call them pretenders. We were like, who's going to win this game? That will tell a lot. And Middletown won the game, and it's going to tell us a lot, and we're going to talk about it. But everyone slow down.
Westies. I think the Westies are getting really shortchanged right now.
Well, look, to be fair to the voters, there was not a lot of information about West Haven when the season started. So they started behind the 8 ball in terms of like being in the poll.
Oh, yeah. Well, they lost everybody, basically.
Yeah. But yes, and they also have other guys who are pretty good. So now we're going to start to see that. Look, guys, at the end of the day, and as the person who puts together the poll and does this, and like, I want everyone to read the poll and like the poll, but the coaches will tell you at the end of the year, it's the one that comes out after the state championship. So that's the one that really matters. You don't want to be number 2, right, 3 or 4 right now in October. And then in December, you're on the outside looking in, what are you going to say? Oh, back when I played, we were number 4 in week 4. Or would you rather say, hey, we were number 2 at the end of the year? So,
but in the moment, it's fun. It's fun in the moment. All right.
So much fun.
Anyway. All right. So with those wins, there are only 22 unbeaten teams remaining in the state after 4 weeks, several of which came out of unbeaten battles to keep their records unblemished. We're going to run some of the big ones down for you. Obviously, the one that you went to on Friday night, Notre Dame Prep, taking on New Fairfield, chirping at us. Where's our love? Where's our love? Well, let's take a look at what happened in that game. Pete, what did happen in that game?
What happened in this game was all Notre Dame. All right, let's be honest here. These teams both coming in 3-0. Notre Dame really put it to New Fairfield. Jakari Harris, the freshman running back, is just a bowling ball. And you'll see here, well, that's the quarterback, but you'll see. Sorry.
There he is. Oh,
Harris right there.
He's a big boy.
He throws his body around. He really can just do whatever he wants out there. New Fairfield played well. They came back. They made it a 1-score game here on this touchdown. And then quarterback LJ Richardson takes the next play, and he goes 51 yards on a read option. Literally the next play after the kickoff, boom, they're up 2 scores again, and they just kind of kept going, 43-26 over New Fairfield. Like you said, battle of 3-0s, and this one was all Notre Dame. I mean, they were dominant. This is a Notre Dame team that, let's not forget, should have been in the state finals a couple of years ago. They kind of gave it away. They couldn't really kill the clock. They fumbled the ball away against Bloomfield late when they could have ran the clock out. And they had a down year last year. Now these kids are a year older. A lot of these kids played, and they're now a year older, a year better. And that's what they kept saying at the end of the game. We're not a 2-8 team. We're not a 2-8 team. No, right now you're a 4-0 team. But you still have a long way to go. And that's what Coach Johnson said at the end of the game. Like, we won. We're happy. We made some plays, but there's a lot of stuff that we need to fix going forward. But I will tell you this, New Fairfield was giving me the business, and we're not happy about that. Same thing we said about Middletown and Newington. Everyone needs to just listen to what we actually say, where, hey, right now we think you're pretenders. Go out and win the game. Go out and prove us wrong. And I
love it.
Chirping.
I love it when you do.
Chirping. And I love it. And I said this to the New Fairfield guys. I talked to their coaches and stuff. I was like, look, we love it. It wasn't, it was a lot of fun. And New Fairfield's going to be fine. They're still going to have a good season. I still like them. I still like their chances to get into the state playoffs. But now you got to turn the page and you got to move forward. I do like Notre Dame a lot, though.
Yeah, no, I do too. I thought they were going to win that game, and but I think New Fairfield's a lot better than they've been in the last few years. So we'll see the Rebels again. All right, moving up back to the CCC, Middletown. Everyone's screaming, "Where's the Middletown highlights? Where's the Middletown highlights?" Well, here they are. They played. Here they are. They played Newington in a huge game of 3-0 teams. Junior Victor Bonet scored the go-ahead touchdown run in a second overtime, and he scored the 2-point conversion, and was in on the ensuing defensive stand by swatting away a third down pass. As Middletown next would drop Victor Rodriguez on 4th and goal and escape with a defensive victory over Newington, 20-12. Newington coach John Aquavita opted to defend in the first in the second OT, effectively keeping Middletown's defense on the field for another set of downs, but it worked out for the Dragons. Cornelius Moore scored on a 10-yard run and threw a 90-yard touchdown pass to Sebastian BBC to put Middletown up 12-0 at halftime, but Newington rallied to tie the game on a pair of Josiah's 7 touchdowns in the second half. And there is Josiah. So a really big defensive battle. Because Middletown was scoring a ton of points, but Newington had not been giving up a lot of points. It was the immovable force versus the irresistible force in that thing. So, listen, that's speaking of Matty Jackaliff of Staples. How about Dario Highsmith right now? The Dragons. He's got the Dragons 4-0 right now. And here's Dario.
But, defensively, we really stepped up and really did what we had to do. That's really what we preach. Offensive side of the ball, lean on the defense. Defensive side of the ball, lean on the offense. Offense and D, leaning on special teams. So they did a great job. And, big shout out to Stone Belzo, doing his thing per usual. Just a man when it comes to game planning and stuff like that, making the right calls at the right times to the right players.
Yeah, so there you go. They are undefeated. Stone Belzo, man. It's like blasts from the past. All these guys now coming back, coaching their teams. I mean, he's got a whole staff of them. There's Tyshawn James in there too, and
yeah, they got a lot of guys. I will say just about Mr. Victor Bonet. Is that how you pronounce it? I just want to make sure I said it right. So he scores the go-ahead touchdown and then gets the 2-point conversion. Do you know what that is called?
When he scores it? No, I don't. What is that called?
It's called an octopus. I'm not kidding. Yeah, because
really?
You got all 8 points. Yeah. Yeah, there were 2 yesterday in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor had it, and someone else had it. But Jonathan Taylor got the first one.
This is a new thing. This is relatively new.
Relatively within the last 5, 7, 10 years.
All right. I never heard of it.
I thought it was fun. An octopus.
Okay. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah. Well.
I don't know. All right. So Middletown, obviously, they are 4-0. They got they're looking pretty good right now in what class are they? Double M? Yeah, they are. I gotta keeping track of all these things is really tough. But actually, I have time. Let me just take a look at that. Double M. There they are. They're in with a host of teams in there, along with Wilton and Windsor. And Bunnell and obviously Newington there could see them again. Massac. So that's a tough division for the Dragons. But listen, they're off to a great start. Dario's doing the job. So that's great for the Dragons. They had another team that was undefeated, a team that we kind of loved before the season started, Fairfield Warde, Pete. They were 3-0 going to this game against Danbury. But Danbury, if you remember last week, played Glastonbury pretty tough. And I thought Glastonbury was pretty good. They only lost by 7 points. Now they went up. Warde, they had a huge homecoming crowd over in Danbury. Warde, would they stay undefeated against the Hatters? The answer was no. Emphatically no. In front of this huge homecoming crowd, nice crowd there, they forced 4 turnovers and then zipped up and down the field, led by Levon Cherry's 2 touchdowns, including an 81-yarder to knock the Mustangs from the unbeaten ranks. The Hatters bolted to a 24-0 lead and scored 24 points in the second quarter, with Tristan Brewer returning a pick 40 yards for a score to cap a 38-point first half. My goodness, 52-14 final score. That was impressive. Danbury back on the men here. Pete, not bad. The Hatters are 2-2 now.
Love it.
You know,
love it. You know what?
That's
you gotta love the uniforms. The orange tops, I'm a big fan of it. If they had the orange bottoms, just go full orange out, I'm in. But, look, we'd love to see this from Danbury. We talked about this game on Friday night show, and they were eating it up. They loved it. But it's good. It's fun when they're in the mix. A couple of years ago when they had Ja Joyner, they were a pretty good team. They played teams really well. You would go and see them. Hasn't really been like that the last couple of years. So it's really nice to see the Hatters back in the mix.
Yeah, and Warde, we knew the Warde schedule was kind of like we call it the Amity schedule, right? The FCI kind of gave them was the not so tough schedule. Yeah. But that's right there. That's a big one for Danbury and Warde. Kind of goes back to the drawing board. That was a curb stomping, as they say. Yeah. But just quickly on Darien, you want to look at. We're not going to start looking at points yet. Not Darien, Danbury. They're number 9 in Class LL at 2-2. And when you look at some of those teams there, and then you look at their schedule, they got New Canaan, McMahon, Norwalk, Central, West Hill, and Ridgefield. They got the not so tough, city schedule there from the FCIAC. I don't know. I mean, we always say it might be it's easy to get into double L if you go 5 or 5 and 5 or 6 and 4. You know, you get enough points there. I don't know. You know, Trumbull has a much tougher schedule. They got Greenwich, Ludlowe, Darien, New Canaan, and St. Joe among them. So, I mean, the jury is very much out on Trumbull. In fact, the jury might be coming back in if things don't turn around there. But, you know, you got Southern, Glastonbury, and none of those teams have all shown they can lose games. You know, maybe Danbury has a shot, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be really fun to, again, see them in the mix. They're fun. They're the biggest school in the state.
Yeah. Oh my God! By almost 1,000 kids.
Yeah.
The next high, or I mean, it's 800 kids. It's
look,
ridiculous.
man. When they had Ja a couple of years ago, it was exciting. You know, there was excitement building around the Danbury football team. And they had other guys too. They had some really good running backs. Obviously, they had that great quarterback, Rossetti, a couple of years ago. Pat, I did the story on him. He went to Wesleyan. Like, they were good. I mean, we would go and see them play. The last couple of years, we didn't. And so now they're kind of back in the mix, and it's exciting. Again, look, I'm a color guy. Orange and blue is the best color combo in all of sports. Go Islanders. But it's nice to see.
Yeah. Okay. Those teams going down. Here's the last unbeaten teams remaining in the state. We got 22. Danny, show that graphic right now. We got 22 remaining unbeaten teams, and there they are. Class Double-L, Greenwich. I didn't get any fancy with this one, but Class Double-L, Greenwich, and Staples are both undefeated. Like we just said about Class Double-L, you know, it's anybody's ball game getting in there. Winning it, not so much. But Class L, you have Maloney sitting pretty 4-0 right now. Schwarta had another great game. New Canaan 4-0. They beat St. Joe, a defensive struggle. Then you have Middletown 4-0, Wilton, and Windsor. We talked about all those teams already, and those are the last unbeaten teams remaining in Class Double-M. In Class N and all the lower divisions, it's kind of a bottleneck. You have Berlin, Brantford, Notre Dame Prep, Rockville, and Waterbury Career Academy, all 4-0 in Class M. In Class Double S, you have Bacon, Lyman, Ellington, Hand, Killingly, Nottawag Co-op is 3-0. Bacon is also 3-0, but the other teams are 4-0. We talked about that last week. It's looking more and more like a Hand Killingly showdown, unless they somehow end up on the same side of the bracket, which would be a travesty. But that's the playoff system for you. Class S, Rummel, Portland 4-0, Northwest Catholic 4-0, Seymour 4-0, Woodland 4-0, and Valley Regional 3-0. They got a big game this week, Valley, here at North Brantford. So we're going to rip through some of the other games we kind of saw this week. We're going to start off with North Haven and Cheshire. Always a good one. You know, they're former Hoosier, former Thanksgiving Day rivals. Great to see them get together. North Haven look to go 4-0 versus Cheshire in the last 4 years. Let's see how that one went.
It's October Friday night at Vanacore Field in North Haven. A pair of 2-1 teams and old Housatonic Thanksgiving Day rivals, Cheshire and North Haven, facing off. North Haven won 4 straight over Cheshire coming into the game and was looking to make it 4 in a row for the first time in almost 60 years. And after baking under scorching hot field turf all season, look at this. Sweet, sweet grass. One of the few left in this fair state. Grass is supposed to be slow and unforgiving, right? Perfect for North Haven's methodical offense. Not for this crew, which zipped up and down the field like some spread offense. Brett White getting things started early with a big run into Cheshire territory, setting up super soft Artie McCormick for a short touchdown run. And he was just getting started. Cheshire finishes off its own methodical drive with a 7-yard Michael Chopak run. But here comes McCormick again, and look at that hole. He busts up the gut and goes 74 yards untouched. North Haven up 14-7. Cheshire responds. Aiden Grigorich leaps over Joe McDonough for a big gainer, but no! That's a 15-yard penalty. You're not allowed to leap over tacklers, folks, which I don't know what we want them to do here, but it is a safety thing. Cheshire coach Don Drust incensed. No matter, Cheshire finishes off the drive on Chopak's second touchdown of the game. We're all tied up at 14. North Haven trying for more late in the first half, but Nate Eggerling's pass is picked off by J.C. Sutherland, the captain. Cheshire with a chance to take the lead before halftime. Sutherland looks wide open in the end zone, but was that a push by McDonough? Drust seems to think so. Refs don't, and we go to the break still tied. Cheshire driving in the second half, but on 4th and short, Emeka Dimka breaks it up and drops Chopak for a loss. It was a turning point for North Haven. Eggerling with a big run into Cheshire territory, and McCormick finishes it off with a short TD. It's 21-14 North Haven. Pity the poor Cheshire fans who thought seats in front of the fire engines were a good idea. Well, they'd have to get used to it, because here comes McCormick again, 51 yards, untouched again. North Haven up 2 scores, 28-14. You might want to move. You might want to move. A near catastrophe when Grigorich fumbles on this play, but despite falling into North Haven's hand, he somehow gets it back, and the Cheshire still in business as we go to the fourth quarter. And the Rams cap off the drive with a short TD pass from Jack Reiser to Jacob Trocchi. It's a 1-score game. North Haven can't put him away, and Cheshire gets the ball back, but on 4th and 1 from midfield, Eggerling jumps the pass from Reiser and takes it 59 yards the other way. Selly in the end zone, and Selly on the kneel down. North Haven wins it 35-21. McCormick ran 12 times for 180 yards and 4 scores, continuing his amazing sophomore season. North Haven beats Cheshire for a 4th straight time for the first time since 1968. North Haven is 3-1 in the Class M race, and Cheshire falls to 2-2 in Class L. A big, big win over a much bigger Cheshire squad, but the Nighthawks played bigger than they looked, even for Coach Tony Sagnella.
I tell them they look pretty ordinary. You know, sometimes I tease them. I go, "Where's our varsity?" Because we're not big up front. But if they believe in themselves and each other, they play hard, and they continue to work and practice, they can do something extraordinary. They buckle down, and this is a big win, a Cheshire win at Vanecore, SEC matchup. It's a big one. It felt good.
We knew they were bigger than us, pretty much, every team we face is, a little bit bigger than us, but that doesn't set us back at all. We know that coming in, and we like to accept the challenge, and, it really starts with, a great week of practice. We come in every day on Monday, with whatever happens Friday, we come in, all right, we got to get better, because we know we're never going to be perfect, so.
Being this team, it was a good team, it was a dogfight. We knew that coming in. We knew we were going to have to play a great game, play a team game, to come here and win. We don't like getting beat here, which we did a couple times last year, but so far we haven't gotten beat here, which is the goal, so it's good.
That that hand guest starring is Ned Griffin's hand, which is always in the shot whenever you cover a game with him, transcribing everything. Anyway, North Haven with a big win. Obviously that's great. We love those SEC matchups, but them zipping up and down the field like they're supposed to go 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
This Eggerling kid,
very good.
So I believe, and I could be wrong, his father is Rob Eggerling, who's the defensive coordinator at Southern. Go Owls!
There you go. We'd like to confirm that, Pete. I'm sure someone will tell us for it. But
according to his bio, he has a son named Nathan. So.
Okay, well there you go. You looked it up. Good for you. Yeah. Okay, moving on. We go.
Any shot I can give a shout out to the Owls. I'm going to give a shout out to the Owls.
Absolutely. We talked about this game Friday night and how impressive it was. We left Ansonia for dead, and why not? They were 1-2, and we're kind of getting a little bit outclassed in consecutive games against Seymour and Waterbury Career Academy. Just things weren't working right. Now they go home to Jarvis Stadium to play a Torrington team that gave Windsor all it could handle in the opener. And in the sparkling new Jarvis Stadium, Nolan Field Complex, big turf field, it was all Ansonia. They must have heard us. All Ansonia all the time. Tymir Taylor and Krishan Fogel ran for 2 touchdowns apiece as the Chargers opened up their sparkling new field with a huge 39-0 win over Torrington. And that was pretty much it. That's nothing else you can say there. Ansonia back on the mend a bit, 2-2. They're not out of the woods yet. We talked about them last week. But hey, if you're going to open it, that would have been the worst. Start off your new field and you get smoked. Nah, it was the other way. They looked a lot like good old Ansonia in that game. So Chargers back on the mend. We'll see how it shakes out for them. But that's a good start. Moving back over to the SEC in a really another big game. Law. I mean, what can you say about Law, Pete, right now?
I was right. That's what I can say, because I was pumping up this team from the end of last year, saying how good they were going to be because they're very young and they played very well last year. Like, people forget they beat Amity last year with a whole bunch of sophomores and freshmen.
Yeah,
and that's an Amity team that went to the state playoffs. And I said they're going to be back. They're going to be good. This team's a year, and they continue to prove me right every single week. So
well,
thank you, Jonathan Law.
For the second straight week, Law's defense stopped another potential winning 2-point conversion, this time with 26 seconds remaining to beat Notre Dame West Haven, 28-27, the exact same score. If I remember, we're like, I think it was the exact same score as the Xavier game last week. They had to hold them off late. Matthew Whitteman threw for 223 yards and 4 touchdowns, including the go-ahead score to Reed Moulton with 4:20 left. Luke Michaelos ran for 188 yards, and Joe Capasso accounted for 3 TDs for Notre Dame West Haven. And he also had 1 running. But the Green Knights, Pete, 0-4 right now. Green Knights, and time is, I know there's a little leeway in Class XXL, but time is running short. They are dead last. They have exactly 0 points, just like, I believe, West Hill and Cross there, but in Hampton and Kennedy and Stanford, a lot of teams in there. But Notre Dame was a team that, was in the state semis last year. They got bumped up to Class XXL. I know we've been kind of going nuts on them a little bit.
But them getting bumped up to Class XXL has nothing to do with what their schedule looked like this year. And maybe Greenwich. Yeah, maybe because of Greenwich, but they're still losing to 3 SEC teams, or they lost to Ludlow, 2 SEC teams, and Greenwich. So maybe you take Greenwich out of the equation if they're not in XX.
Yeah.
Still, you got to win those games. And I think it's a little, I think they need to just win a game. You win a game, you get back into it, you can snowball it, snowball effect, get it together, but you got to win one. Look, we saw Prep go 0-6 to start a couple of years ago and get in at 4-6.
Yeah. They got North. Bring up the schedule, Danny. They got, here it is, Notre Dame's saving schedule. They got North Haven next. My goodness. Then they got a much needed bye for getting a little bit of a break against winless Wilbur Cross at 4, and a team they probably should beat right now. And then you get Shelton, and then at Hill. It's a lot easier, I guess, on the other side, quote unquote. They should win most, if not all, of those games. Maybe you want to quibble with Shelton. I don't know what Hill House has got, but right now, Notre Dame is battle tested. That's the very least you can say about it. I don't know how their injuries are. I know Joe is like, shut up, don't say anything. But it's still not. It's doable. Let's put it that way. It's doable.
Yeah, it's absolutely doable. Look, if they could beat North Haven this week, I think that puts them in a really good spot to run the table and go 6-4. I think if they lose, I know it's easier said than done, but we don't want to look ahead of North Haven, right? You come back from the bye; those are 5 winnable games, And at worst, if you lose to North Haven, you lose to Shelton. 4-6, is that enough to get you into XX? I'm going to say probably not, but we thought that a couple of years ago at Prep, and they got in. So it's not over yet at Notre Dame, but you win this one this week. A lot of things start.
You got to beat North Haven.
You got to beat North Haven again. Easier said than done, but easier said than done. But
really good. Yeah. All right, we're gonna move. We have not given the Pequot a lot of love. There's been so much going on with the Lions game and everything, but there was a big result last week as North Brantford, went out to HK and I believe it was at HK and beat the Cougars 41-28. The Siegel brothers, AJ and Jack specifically with AJ a bit banged up, led the T-Birds back from a 21-14 halftime deficit with 28 consecutive points in a 41-28 road victory. Jack Siegel scored 4 touchdowns, including 3, I believe, in the fourth quarter. North Brantford's backup quarterback, or their second quarterback, Mateo Anderson, had a huge game, subbing in for Siegel, who's been dealing with his high ankle sprain. He threw a 20-yard touchdown to Landon Burns just before the half. And then starting the third quarter, he threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to Greg Ferraro on 3rd and 19 to tie the game at 21. And all momentum went the T-Birds' way. The defense only allowed 7 points the rest of the way. And they are a 3-1 team as they play host to 3-0 Valley Regional Old Lyme on Friday. Sounds
that's
like
a big win.
Sounds like an SPB game.
That is a
remember they couldn't win these games last year.
They couldn't win these games, not just
with
last
Hansen.
Year. They haven't won those games the last couple of years with Siegel and Hansen. Yeah. We would hype them up. We would travel to see them, and they would lose these games. This is a great win for the Thunderbirds.
Yeah,
great,
really big. Yeah, big time. And they're on one of the few teams in Class S. They're just one school, or in the Pequot, I should say, one school, man. And they are ride or die with one school, and Salvati and Coach Salvati said we are not co-oping. So they have plenty of kids there. They're always good. Going to go back to the SEC. We got another game to talk about quickly. Sheehan 35, Amity 16. I was kind of shocked by this game, Pete. I thought with Christian and Luciano, they would kind of run them over. But, I keep forgetting this is Sheehan. Sheehan's used to this kind of stuff. They play in the SEC. They play Fairfield Prep. They're battle-tested. And we talk a lot about their schedule, like we said. But they were just that. They were tough against Luciano. Josh Durant ran for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 in the second half, as the Titan pulled away from Amity 35-16. Luciano got his yards, 125 and 2 scores, but Sheehan had an answer for him every time. Your boy, Jake O'Brien, 200 yards of total offense and accounted for a pair of scores. Sebastian Rosario, their great receiver, caught 5 passes for 79 yards. Sheehan, 3-1, and that's a big one. Every win counts, but they get double the points in this case. Or whatever it is, they get mundo points from this in Class S, and especially when your schedule has more built-in power games. You win these games. It's almost like you're winning, twice when you win these games.
But there's not a lot of room for error in Class S.
Yeah, bring it up.
There's
Pete.
not.
Bring it up, Candy.
There's not a lot of room for error on this schedule. Look, Xavier is not going to be easy. North Haven not going to be easy. Cheshire's not going to be easy. Shelton's not going to be easy.
I like their chances.
It's hard. I like their chances. Don't get me wrong, but they are a Class S school. They are a true Class S school. And you're playing Xavier, which is a private school. I think they're double M, but they were double L not that long ago. Yeah. North Haven was L not that long ago. Cheshire was double L not that long ago. Shelton was double L not that long ago. So, it's just an insane schedule for Class S. If they get into Class S, then it puts them at an advantage.
Look out.
Right? So... Yeah. I think they just kind of look at it like we need to win X amount of games, which is probably the number is 8 for them. They don't have the ability to be in double L and go 4 and 6.
I think they can get away with 7. And just knowing how the points work and some of the teams they got on that schedule, I think they can get away with 7. I don't know about 6. That's going to be tough. But Xavier is going to give them a lot of points. I think they beat Xavier. I think they beat Harding, which is, again, lots of points. Yeah. Cheshire will be the tough one.
North Haven, too.
North Haven, obviously, that's going to be tough right there. And then Shelton, you kind of need to win that game.
Not a cakewalk either. And look, on the other side, on Thanksgiving, Lyman Hall is playing pretty well. Their schedule is vastly different than Sheehan's, despite being in the same town. But they're not playing bad. This is probably going to be the best Lyman Hall team that they're going to play on Thanksgiving in a long time. So it's not an easy road. And you just got to get through it. Look, but you even said it at the beginning. You talked about Sheehan, and you're like, oh, they're going to Amity. But I forgot. Yeah, it's Sheehan. Sheehan is at this point over the last, maybe it started with Zach Davis's last year. Was that 2015, 2016? They're like a team that you expect to compete every single year, no matter the graduations. You expect them. We talked about it with Maloney. Kevin Frederick called him a program. Sheehan is that.
Team Pugwaga is Sheehan, and them and Maloney. Team Pugwaga. All right.
No, you're hating on my boys.
I'm not hating
too. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got Platt. We'll talk about
Platt.
I
got team favorites. If I worked at your newspaper and I covered you guys exclusively before I got the game time, I always got love. I always got love for Torrington, Gilbert Northwestern, Norwalk, McMahon, Staples.
All right.
You got to know where your roots are, man. You got to know where your roots are.
All right. We got one more game to talk about. We'll go back to the FCIAC and the game I didn't know anything about until a few hours ago. But up at Tiger Hollow, a team we haven't really talked about much at all. But Ridgefield kind of just beating up on Norwalk, a team, our darling team, Pete. 31-7. Showdown of 2-1 teams on Saturday. But Henry Nelligan completed 8 passes. Get it, 8 passes for 8 of 15 passes for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. All to Chris Cosley, who had 4 catches for 240 yards. That's average 60 yards a catch. His longest was from 88 yards as Ridgefield just knocked off the wasn't that Tiger Hall? I'm sorry, was that McMahon?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bad job by me. But yeah, that was at McMahon, even better. 31-7. Leo Moore ran 14 times for 119 yards and a score for the Tigers. He also had 2 interceptions of Norwalk quarterback Easton Pace, who's still young. Let's remember that, folks. And he had a rough day. He completed 9 of 19 passes for 107, and obviously got picked up twice. And then Ridgefield's defense held Norwalk to 181 yards, and they are now 3-1. And well, they got some big games coming up, Pete. And maybe it's time to start to talk about Ridgefield again. Chris Cozy. Oh my goodness.
I know we could talk about Ridgefield, but they also played New Canaan and lost 47-0.
Yeah.
So, it's with those middle of the road FCIAC teams, the Ludlows, the Wiltons, Ridgefield, Trumbull, depending on the year. We want to see you guys beat. Remember, we talked to Ludlow that one year, and it was like, yeah, Ludlow's great, but we got to see them beat teams. And what they do, they went out, they beat Ridgefield and New Canaan back-to-back weeks. Like, we've got to win a couple of those games or compete in those games against the top of the FCIAC if you want to do anything in states, because other than St. Joe's, they're all in the upper divisions.
Yeah, Ridgefield now sitting pretty number 5. And not that this means anything. Sitting pretty number 5 in Class L. I mean, listen, there's a lot of good teams there. They got New Canaan in there, so they're gonna have to see them again if they want to. If they want to be in the playoffs and advance anywhere. Maloney, Darien, Platt, Weaver, which is 2-1. Interesting there and there. Ludlow and Warde, Cheshire, Newtown, Amity. That is a ridiculous division. Once we get to past the first or second bye, once we get past the second bye week, we'll really start to look into these points. But not bad for Ridgefield. I mean, listen, shout out to Roy Colsey's son, Chris, his third son. Roy Colsey, obviously, a fellow Syracuse classmate, so shout out. Remember, I got to know my roots. So there you go. I don't know where the kids are going to school. All of the other kids went to Virginia, to play lacrosse. So, but there you go. So that was some of the big games we covered last week. Pete, you know what time it is now, right? Shoutouts. Pete, we got a lot of shoutouts this week.
Yeah.
Let's
kick us off. This game we didn't talk about that much, but quickly let's talk about Platt Glastonbury. Platt went up, was it 21-0? And Glastonbury stormed all the way back 21-21. Game goes to overtime. Platt scores to open up overtime. Glastonbury scores, goes for the ensuing extra point, and it was blocked by Javon West to win the game for Platt. We talked about this game on Friday night, and we said, Glastonbury's really good, or you were all about Glastonbury. And I'm like, Platt wins these weird games.
Oh, of course they do. I never said they didn't.
No, I
Cardiac Panthers.
But you were like talking about Glastonbury and they're good and all that stuff, which was fine. But I was just like, I got this weird feeling about Platt. They just win these games. And they did. And my shout out goes, one, it goes to Platt in general, because we didn't talk about the game, but I'm going to shout out my guy. He's our guy, really. Austin Standish, the junior quarterback. You said the Cardiac Panthers. He is the engine that makes them go. He had 362 total yards. He threw for 224, 3 touchdowns. He rushed for another 138 yards. This kid is really talented. We like him a lot. But what a win for Platt. Platt is 3-1, and their only loss, Sean, 14-10 to Ridgefield.
Yep. I was looking at that.
And we're sitting here talking about Ridgefield, this and this.
Yeah.
That is a huge win for Platt.
Yeah. Well, Platt's got Guilford, Simsbury. Guilford, that's an interesting game. Simsbury, Southington, New Britain, Hall, Maloney. That's a real tough road.
Platt, who hasn't made the playoffs in a couple of years, was rewarded by getting bumped up to CCC Tier 2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the CCC Tier 1. Yet another CCC team that has been in the top 10 for the last couple of years. It goes to the playoffs every year and goes to state championship games. Is still magically in Tier 2.
And they're double whammy, and they got the double whammy being one of the hardest playoff division state Class L. So, all right, let's move on. Let's go to Rockville. My shout out will go to Molly Wilson, who scored on a 20-yard touchdown run and kicked 9 extra points to finish with 15 overall, setting a girls' state record for most points scored in a game. This is video of her last year. They don't have any footage up. Let's get on that, Eric. But most points scored in a game for Rockville in a Pequot victory, 69-6 over SMSA. Wilson also holds the girls' record for most extra points in a career, 155, and total points scored, 170. The 9 extra points tied a girls' state mark. So congratulations, Molly. Pete, what do you got?
All right, this guy, I love this guy, and I want to tell his story soon this year. It is Bunnell quarterback Jake Garrigan. First-year starter at quarterback, replaces a quarterback in Steven Mendoza, opens up with one of the toughest schedules to start the year, and the Bulldogs are 3-1. And this weekend, coming off their loss to New Canaan, Garrigan went 12 for 17 for 271 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He also added 36 rushing yards to get Bunnell back in the win column, 50-0 over Weston. Look, we talk Ricky Miller, we talk Roddy Ricketts, we talk dudes at Bunnell, and Jake Garrigan is one of those dudes now. He is an awesome player. He's really fun to watch, and he's a first-year quarterback.
That's amazing, and he's really got a really fun story to tell on that one. So good for him. I am going to go. I mentioned him. No love for the Westies right now, but I'm going to go. Oh, where is it? I got to get my stuff. Here it is. Mason Wright for West Haven's my shout out. He threw 5 touchdown passes, 5 in West Haven's 41-14 victory over Xavier. I saw him play against Shelton a few weeks ago. And, you know, it was a little sketchy. Listen, it was the second game starting. You know, he's taken over for for a first-team All-State quarterback in Conlon. So a big spot for him there to get that. And, listen, he's only a sophomore. And that's a big deal for a West Haven team, especially if they're looking for new leaders to step up beyond maybe some of the other playmakers. And that was a huge performance by Mason Wright. So good job by him. Pete, what do you got for your shout out?
All right, my next shout out, we talked about him a little bit, but he jumped into more of a role. He was going to get a bigger role this year. Obviously, his brother got hurt. Jake Siegel at North Branford. We talked about this game a little bit. They haven't won games like this in recent years. They've had some great players, and they've always lost these games that you're like, North Branford should win. They should go to the playoffs. They should, maybe compete for a state title, and they lose games and they're kept out. But they win this game against Haddam Killingworth 41-28, and Jake Siegel rushed for 4 touchdowns in the win. They're like, hey, we're down, AJ. We got to give you the ball. You got to lead us here. And boom, he does it into the win column for North Branford. They got a big one, like you said, against Valley Regional coming up this weekend. That one should be really good. Sean?
Oh, yeah. That's
you got
I think I'm going to that game. It's just around the corner, just up the Route 80. Might have to see a little Pequot. I mean, I'm all over the Pequot. I love the Pequot. So my last shout out is going to go to Cody Puzio from Berlin. He rushed for 187 yards and 3 touchdowns and also threw a 17-yard touchdown pass to Carmen Rio as the Red Coats. We didn't talk about them much as undefeated teams, but Red Coats undefeated. They defeat Weathersfield 28-7 on their home turf. It might be time to see Berlin sometime soon, Pete. I'm looking up the schedule. I don't know when we're going to be able to do it or when we will do it, but it's going to have to be soon because they are undefeated and they're begging for attention. What's that?
I think they got Newington in a couple of weeks. They got Middletown or Newington both coming up, I think.
And they play Middletown at the end of the year.
I think Newington might be in a couple of weeks.
Newington is right after the bye week. They squint here 10-20. So October 24th. They get Ram this week. They'll be 5-0 because Ram is struggling.
That October 24th week is stacked. You got Greenwich New Canaan too that night. Number 1 versus number 2.
So those are the shout outs this week. I don't have a huge graphic up for the games to watch this week because frankly, we're heading into our buys right now. Yeah. This week is the first major round of buys, then followed by the other one, which is a massive round of buys. In fact, I'll be taking a buy that week. Not for the show, but as far as game coverage goes, because it's my birthday week. So, but this week, Pete, I mean, what are you looking at? I mean, what are the games to watch? Obviously, Staples, Wilton kind of sticks out Friday night.
Couple games that stand out. Friday, Maloney at Fairfield Prep. I think is a real. Nope, that's 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. I am wrong. Sorry, that's the photos. Maloney Prep are going to plan on shooting your game in 2 weeks. I'm looking ahead. All right, here we go. A couple of games to take a look at. Southington, New Britain, I think is a really good one in the CCC.
Oh, huge.
Southington is trying to claw their ways back into the top of the CCC. And who's at the top of the CCC right now? It's New Britain. They've been really good the last 2 seasons. Jaden Allen is an absolute stud. They're going to have their hands full with him. That's a good one. Norwalk, Ludlowe, both coming off losses. Right, both games that we thought maybe Ludlowe could beat Wilton. We thought Norwalk would play a little bit better against Ridgefield. But again, you don't want to lose 2 in a row. I think that's a really good one. Holy Cross, Ansonia. Ansonia, like you said, they got off the deck and beat Torrington, but Holy Cross is a little different. Deshaun Graves is a little different.
A lot different.
Ansonia, you can win. You start piling those wins back up because you have, it's not easy. You got Woodland the rest of the way. You got Naugatuck on Thanksgiving. But if you want to get back into the mix, it starts with Holy Cross, and I'm really excited to see how that game's going to go. We talked about Valley Regional, North Brantford. Brantford Law, I think, is really interesting, too. I saw Brantford 2 weeks ago. They gave it to East Catholic, and Law's been really good. Wilton, Staples, undefeated teams in the FCIAC. This is a big one for Wilton. I really think this could dictate how we think Wilton will go the rest of the year. That's a good one. And Fairfield Prep and West Haven. That is a really interesting game. They played twice last year. They've played twice before. The old Thanksgiving rivals. They've met in the state playoffs. It feels like if you win the regular season game, you lose the playoff game. So this one should be really good. They're not playing on Thanksgiving this year for the first time in a while.
I don't think they played last year, did they?
Yes, they played last year.
Yeah, they did. That's right. Yeah.
And Fairfield Prep won convincingly, and then West Haven blew them out in the semifinals.
Quickly, when was the last time, Pete, do you think Ansonia lost to Holy Cross? Maybe
I would say less than the last time they lost to Seymour.
Yes. But not as less as you might. Less.
Holy Cross won a couple of state titles in the early 2000s, so I would guess 05.
I think this was one of their teams. I don't know if this team won a state title. Anyway, it was 2009. They won 21-30. That was the Ansonia year where they remember Crosby bit them, and also, I don't know if you remember, but I remember.
We talked about it because Jerome Cunningham was on that team. It was the last Waterbury team, the last public Waterbury school to beat Ansonia was Crosby that year until Waterbury did it 2 weeks ago.
That will be a fascinating game. So, all right. I think we'll call that a podcast. We're way over budget here on time, so we'll get you going. There's lots of Monday Night Football stuff going on. So, it was a crazy one. So, we'll see you all next week. We got buys, we got a lot, but still lots to talk about next week. We'll see you on the. When do we do that? We do it right at 10:30. Give you our quick thoughts about what the games were. So. We'll do all that. But anyway, for Pete Quagg, I'm Sean Patrick Bully. This has been the Meat Grinder on GametimeCT. See ya.
I'm seeing all your comments. If you brought up a team, go rewind. We probably talked about them. Yes, I'm also wearing this hat, but this hat's from 1998, not 2001. I love you all. Have a good night.
I'm like this. I'm like, poor Yankees. Go Yanks, please.
Good night. I love you all.